I'm back up on it like a ritual. You show them love while they thinking that they sick of you. But in the end, I'm just doing what a winner do. I done saw it all, yeah, I don't even need the proof. I could rap anywhere, I don't really need a booth. But I gotta thank God, cause I didn't need the coupe. Watch it start shoot, get it through the pandemic. That's faith, that's a lot of grind, that's bare effort.
What's up?
What's going on, y'all?
Alright, chilling. How you?
We have Mr. Shani Culture in the building.
Yo. What's good, family? What's good, family?
What's up, man? How you feeling?
I'm feeling all right, man. You know, it's summertime. Right. We enjoying the weather.
Right,
you know, but we watching the world at the same time.
Well, you gotta do that. Don't get too distracted with the enjoyment, but don't lose your mind at the same time. It's all about balance.
That's a fact. No lies heard.
This is Creative Collection here. Squeaky Gems, Goldfinger Visions. We here to talk about what can make it better. This is part 6. We got our special guest, Shani Culture, in the building. Give it up.
Bless up.
What's going on?
We definitely appreciate you coming through. So we're going to get into some good dialogue and some solutions.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
For sure. Anybody got anything to say before we get started? A little warm up for anything on your mind?
No, we can just get straight into it.
Dive into the deep water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, shout out to Water World in the building. Shout out to everybody in the building.
What's going on?
Speaking of
World, what's going on, man?
Shout out to our administrator, Tyree, developer.
Yeah.
Right. Shout out to all the sponsors.
Yeah, shout out to the sponsors.
Shout out to all the supporters, everybody that been watching. And we appreciate all y'all. You know, this is wonderful that we can get together and have people come together to talk about such important things and make it enjoyable at the same time with our people. So,
yeah.
All right. Before we get into the questions, you know, we gotta warm it up for everybody in here and everything. So, Culture, I'm gonna ask you to, you know, talk about yourself a little bit, explain your position here, what you feel can make it better. Explain yourself, like who you are a little bit, so people can, you know, recognize who's speaking.
Yeah. Well, first off, you know, I'm a child of God. You know what I'm saying? I come from the universe. I move by universal law. You know what I'm saying? I move with the tribe of Judah. That's my chosen road. But, you know, I listen to the God of me the most, right? Outside of that, on this planet, you know, I work in radio and I use my voice to speak to the people every morning on Hot 97, Monday through Friday, with the morning show, Evo Rosenberg, Laura Stiles. I got a nonprofit, 2 nonprofits. One, We Build a Block. Another one, No Disrespect. Basically, we deal with children, middle school to high school, and try to deal with, No Disrespect specifically is about conflict resolution, you know, and trying to make them understand there's different ways to get respect other than fighting your way for it, you know, and treating people with respect, that you can get respect. Because, you know, we come from the jungle, though a lot of us know it's like kill or be killed, or you can't show weakness, you know, and that's not necessarily how it is when you're trying to expand and get into the adult world. You know, you got to approach people with a certain type of tact. So it's just we kind of nurture them if they don't have that guidance to kind of understand how to handle themselves out here. And We Built the Block is really dealing with different gang members in Brooklyn, specifically Brownsville, and just kind of giving them a congregated space, almost like therapy in some respects, where they can talk about their situation. We take a group of them so that they don't feel like they're isolated. Because a lot of times you deal with one kid, he may start to see the light, but then he got to go back around his circle. You know, so when you get a group of them, that's a collective of friends, and you give them a space where they can talk, they can speak about real issues, they can speak about the things going on in their personal life and what they want to be, what they want to do, and the real problems that they face, and they feel like they can look at their peers and they relate. they have a circle now. They have a support group amongst themselves, so that even when we leave them, they have each other to say, yo, not chill, you know what we trying to do, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? And they can keep each other on point. So we build the block is really building it from the ground up, outside of the politics. You know, a lot of these nonprofits just try to get funds and funnel it into the community. And a lot of times it still doesn't trickle down to the kids, you know, or to the people that need it. So we try to, my approach is always hands-on. You know, I like to see if I could change a life hands-on, you know, trying to frown into a smile, you know, and feel the energy of that person kind of evolve to this new being. So, so between the nonprofits and between the radio, you know, I also got a show independently that I do called This Is Culture, where I travel a little bit and show people, you know, what culture is. A lot of people use the word, you know, for the culture. You know, that's been commonly used in the past few years. I've been culture since I was a baby. It's what my family called me, you know, and that's just from being from Trinidad and still maintaining the culture of Trinidad while still here, afar in America, you know. But culture is a way of life, right? Culture is how we talk, how we dress, it's our dialogue, it's the food we eat, you know. So in this show, I take people on a journey with me to identify and understand different cultures, because under that context, it could be anything from the homeless culture to Caribbean culture to an entrepreneur's culture, to whatever it is in a specific lifestyle, because there's all these little subcultures. And the more we get involved and understand each other's cultures, we realize that we're really not that different and everybody trying to get to the same place. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of dissect it so that we can understand each other better. So when I identify and say, look, this is culture, you know, we just understanding each other better. I think that really is the bottom line. You know, everybody wants to be understood. You know, even when you're in a debate with somebody, the debate is really so that you understand my point. You know what I'm saying? You know, in Caribbean terms, when you reason, when two people get together and they can find a reason to get to the one truth, you know, it's what you understand and what I understand, and together we can reason together to find where that one truth lies. And then we can leave there like, you know, greater understanding of the whole situation in each other's perspective. You know, so I approach things from that perspective a lot. So that's, you know, a small run of, you know, some of the foundations that I move on. But again, like I said, it started off, you know, before anything, you know, move with God. And universal laws are the only ones I really subscribe to. You know, the laws of the land is a little sketchy. If it don't fall in line with the frequency of universal law, I question it.
I hear you. I hear you, man. I just want to tell you, you know, you got a good head on your shoulders, man. I listened to everything you said. It's great. And I'm glad to hear this type of frequency being spread. And I think, like, you know, coming from where we come from, you from Brooklyn?
I'm Queens, Brooklyn. I'm
Queens,
all city.
Brooklyn? Okay.
I went to school in Queens. All my family was in East New York, so I was out there a lot, mostly.
Yeah, that's just that's definitely
BQE
impressive.
movement, BQE.
Yeah, impressive. Do y'all want to say anything about that before we get into the questions? Because I want y'all to feel like Royalty and Squeaky. I want y'all to feel tap in whatever y'all got to say before we get into the questions, because that was a nice, well put together statement he just said. I got a lot to say about it. I ain't even gonna get into
that was pretty.
Yeah, that was dope. That was dope. I mean, you know, summing it up all together.
So I got a question. So, Culture, how did you, when did you first start building your relationship with God? And how did you, strengthen your relationship with God?
It's a great question. So the beginnings was Mom Dukes, you know, just being my mother, she should be in this room. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because she just, you know, her strength, you know, in terms of the type of relationship, you know, and how she speaks on spirituality. Mainly, you know, though we grew up in the Catholic church, you know, I went to not Catholic school, but Sunday school, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Before the main church, and, you know, we did the bread, wafer, and the wine, and, you know, and learned all about the Bible and things of that nature. So she wanted there to be some understanding of God, but she always still kind of it would be you know, I think you need to go to church. She was like, but you know, the priest probably from the nuns anyway. That's how she would talk. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But which kind of always let me know that she had this distinction of what I should know, but also eat the meat and spit out the bones. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because they human too, and I don't agree with everything they say, but take what resonates with you, So that was always the beginnings of my even foundation of kind of this God peace and just understanding that God is real. Because to me, you really have to know that God is real. And a lot of people I don't think really feel like God is real, because most people only believe in what they see. Right? Seeing is
Right.
believing. And God is a faith and a feeling. You got to have that internal understanding of what this whole piece is. And that has to be instilled from small. It's just like cousins that you meet when you're 30. Y'all ain't that close. Y'all ain't as close as the ones
Right.
you grew with. So it's important to grow with God. You know what I'm saying? The relationship is different when you grow with certain understanding. You know what I'm saying? So she kind of put that in there early. So I always had an understanding. It wasn't a crazy religious house, but when you have an elder that's able to identify God for you, and in a Black family, when certain things happen somewhat miraculously, an elder will be like, that was God right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, we done all heard that. What? Oh, that was God. And you young, you don't know, like, I guess it was. They pointing out stuff where if nobody was to say that was God right there, then you might just think it's luck.
Right.
But you need people to continue to identify those things in certain ways when blessings happen, to say that was a blessing. You know what I'm saying? That was God's work, and when that conditioning in your mind, it lets you know that there's something bigger than you. You know what I'm saying? So whether you're doing bad out here or living regular, whatever, which we was all like, knuckleheads, we was young and doing wild stuff, you just knew that there was something bigger than you. When I turn to the second part of your question of what strengthened it and made me understand it on a higher level, was just being like, I always been a naughty-headed kid in terms of like my head just being wild and stuff like that. And right around 16, 17, me and my crew, we was going out here long, and we wanted to grow dreads and stuff. And we were smoking a lot of weed, listening to certain music, and you would hear certain food in some of the songs. But in growing out here long, sometimes you wanted to contain it. And we would have to put on these crowns, because the only thing that could contain our locks was these Rasta caps, these knitted caps, but they also had the red, gold, and green on it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So as we moving around in certain places, when we pass real Rastas, they nodding at us like, respect, Aya, you know what I'm saying? Or bless up, you know what I'm saying? And they nodding at us with a respect that we understand where they coming from, but we didn't fully understand what we was representing, which just made us more curious on the crown we was really holding on our head, and that we're looked at in a certain way when we was moving out here. So we kind of just wanted to build more. When you smoke, you analyze more, especially when you was younger. You're looking at the grass different. You're looking at a squirrel's tail different. Like, you ever notice how bushy the squirrel tail is? You know what I'm saying? You start over-analyzing everything.
Right.
Analyzing life, while we getting high, we trying to understand on higher levels. But not in becoming Rasta, but in discovering the Rasta in me, I should say. A lot of the teachings is like, it's I and I, it's the God in you. And outside of the Catholic religion, they never told me how to live and how to connect to my temple, my body. Because Rasta was like, yo, you can't eat them things. You know what I'm saying? You can't go out. Your body is your temple. You can't consume this type of food. You can't consume this type of thought process. You can't move this type of way. So Rasta really showed me how to move. You know what I'm saying? How to embrace it as a lifestyle. The other religion didn't show me the lifestyle. They just kind of tell you certain things, at least the way I interpreted it. And it didn't show me the lifestyle and how to embrace it in a way that, I related to. And Rasta did. It just was natural, it was easy. So it just kind of peeled back the shells and exposed me to take myself more important. The things that I said, the things that I did, what I listened to and what I consumed in my body. And fasting, saves the soul. And sacrifice saves the soul, period. So in disciplining myself from certain foods, from eating everything as a child, from Skittles to, and cheese, whatever it was, to now having to wean off of that in order to try to stay in line with this new discipline. That sacrifice keeps you focused because you're always thinking about now what you're consuming and what you're putting in. So that keeps the focus too. So that strengthened my position and being able to hear myself, hear the God inside of me a lot louder than it was before.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Right.
And that's definitely, God, like, giving you that strong family background and instill all those good values.
Yeah, it's a blessing for real. For real.
Yeah. What'd you say? You said people can't see God. People only believe in things they can see.
Yeah.
Just that one sentence has like such powerful impact because God is real, man. And that's why people need to hear us talk about it, you know what I'm saying, with you right now, because it's like some people are sitting back thinking right now, listening and looking at science right now for answers, and some people are looking at some other theology, or they're looking at atheism, or they're looking at agnostic and all of this. And nah, God is real. We're here to tell you that we really truly know that there's a spiritual essence among us that's just too powerful to even ignore at this point. So no, you don't need to see it, but things happen that are just miraculous, you know what I'm saying? So what you're saying right now is real, you're well spoken. So it's just like, I know it's going to hit people when they hear this. And for the people that's listening now, I know they're like, yo, this is some great speech right now.
Yeah. And you really got to pay attention to, you know, everything that's around us. Like you said, a lot of people pay attention to the science. My mom's is a science teacher, you know, or retired at this point. And one of the things she would say, she said she asked her grandmother, like, what is science, when she was like young? And her grandmother was like, you know, science is just man's way of trying to understand God. I mean, and when you break that down, it's like they still don't fully know what's in water. They'll call it H2O because that's the scientific term. But is it only hydrogen and oxygen? You know what I'm saying? There's other elements, even in the air we breathe. We say the air is oxygen, but so many different gases that they try to dissect in order to understand this God air that we breathe in. You know, so it's their exploration of the elements that God put here. But people want to only understand or embrace the science when science changes all the time, because they find a new discoveries that God, you know, we didn't know this element was there. We didn't see it like this, and they trying to figure it out. So, you know, you can't just trust the science, as they say, and not trust God too. And then trusting God, you got to know that some things you're not going to understand. You just have to understand that some things you won't understand, you know, and science wants to understand everything. You know, and they're not God, so they're not gonna understand everything. So when you put your whole life in their hands, when they're trying to figure it out too, you might be misled. You know what I'm saying? And under the concept of, you know, seeing is believing, like for me personally, with my kids, I got 3. You know, I never really fabricated the holidays, you know, and stuff like that, like Christmas and Tooth Fairies and Easter bunnies and things of that nature. Because I feel like for people who don't have a strong understanding or belief in God, when you're a child, your spirit and your imagination are high, and you believe in the things you can't see. That's when we're in our most pure essence. We believe in everything we can't see. You know, everything is magical. And during that same time, you're fed that somebody comes down your chimney, and there's this make-believe man with floating reindeers, and there's this tooth fairy that comes in while you're sleeping, and you know what I'm saying? All these things that are magical, and at the same time, they're feeding you that, they're also feeding you that God is real. And as you get older, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, you start realizing, oh, Santa Claus is fake.
Right.
The tooth fairy is mom.
Right.
Oh, the Easter bunny is this, and all of these things that you used to believe in, and they was putting it all in the same box to make you believe magical stuff, and they not reinforcing God. All these things go poof, including God. You know what I'm saying? So all the things that you thought may have been real when you were a child, or not reinforced, become doubtful and, well, show me, prove it. I need to see tangible facts. And when God gets mixed up in that same space as Santa Claus, and you find out he's fake, you don't really know what to believe. So I keep it 100.
Yeah.
Well, let me stop you there right there real quick. This is for the Christmas specifically, because we're not gonna get into this too much. But yeah, like that's a Roman Catholic pagan holiday, right? And everybody likes to say like, yo, oh, it's just pagan, it doesn't matter. You know, it's just enjoy it for the kids and stuff like that. But like you said, that gets installed in children's minds. And then when it's time to go to 5th grade or 3rd, I remember I was in like, we're going like 4th grade. Then my grandmother finally was like, you know what? All right, let me sit you down now. Yeah, Santa Claus is fake. I was devastated. I'm like,
right.
yo, I mean, like, I wasn't devastated, but I was like, I knew it, but I didn't want to know it. You know, like,
Yeah.
I really wanted to believe it because she really was hustling, getting all it. My grandmother used to put 1,000 gifts in under the tree. So we used to really like feel it. She used to make sure we were sleeping. So she went hard for years and years. When I was younger, I definitely was believing in Santa Claus. That ruined my relationship with God. And that's the whole point of paganism, is to ruin your relationship with God. They want to put idols in your head when you're young and infiltrate your mind. And then you believing in it for years and years and years, and then come find out it's fake. I know some people that's 40 years old right now don't believe in God because of Santa Claus.
Right. Because they made you believe in this amazing piece and then just kind of dismissed it once you found out. You know what I'm saying? Just like,
I'm in the process of trying to break it down to my 10-year-old now. It's breaking her heart, but we keep God in the midst of everything. So
it's hard. But it's one more thing I got to say about it. It's just crazy because it's like, you know what, to break it down, if people actually sit back and look through the history and find out that the same Saint Nick Pope is the same line of popes that signed off on transatlantic slave trade. So basically, Santa Claus is basically the dude that signed off on the transatlantic slave trade from Rome. Right. So that's like, it's like, it should make you hate it. It should make you like, oh, you know what? Once I search my history up, I'm really starting to see, oh damn, what's going on, you know?
Yeah, and to your point too, like, you know, a lot of times it's like, well, it's just for the kids, let them enjoy it, and I get it, but everything starts from somewhere. So I just want to make sure the right foundations. Now, their mother celebrates Christmas, you know what I'm saying? So they get the gifts and they still get it, but they like, Dad don't celebrate that. And I keep it funky with them, you know, and they appreciate it and they understand it, and they know they don't have to get oversaturated with it in their mind, though they appreciate the gifts that they might get from extended family members. But they know that they getting real dialogue here, and I don't come in on some bah humbug. I don't do that to them either. You know, I just, you know, this is what it is. Like, we don't do that.
I want to point out another thing you said when you said that I think your grandmother or your mom said that, you know, you just chew the food and spit out the bones.
Yeah.
When it comes to different like people in power that you are looking to for guidance, because they are human, like pastors and, you know what I'm saying, deacons and any teachers, anybody that you look up to, like they're so righteous, or they put on that hat, like they're so righteous, but they also are normal people and they make mistakes. So it's like, dang, if my pastor make a mistake, why am I going to church? And it makes you want to pull away, you know.
Right.
So I always try to let people know, like, you just take the message. And I like the way you put it when you said just chew the food and spit the bones out, like that. That right there is exactly what we be trying to tell people, because people cannot separate, for some reason, the person from the actual spirit. Like, God is using these people for a reason to tell you that message. That doesn't mean you follow them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You can't make them holier than thou, you know. We all God's children, so, but some people's purpose is different, and as you said, they're messengers, you know. So there's certain things that will come out of their mouth that will resonate with you, that you can take and live on and chew on and be like, this is real, you know. But you can't start to hold certain things and objects, you know, as a vehicle. You know, I think that you want to build a strength. Ain't nothing like that one-on-one relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta have that one-on-one relationship. Anytime there's a middleman, there's some type of dilution that's there when you have a medium in between. But sometimes you need the medium because they'll deliver something that you wasn't thinking, but you want to nurture the one-on-one relationship the most, you know. So it's got to be a direct connect, you know. Just like when you're dealing with anything, you know, you buy something or business or whatever, once there's a middleman involved, you're not getting the whole story, you're not feeling everything, you're not seeing the eye contact, it's not resonating exactly the same. So the one-on-one is extremely important, but the messengers are important too.
I agree.
Immaculate. All right, so we gonna get into these questions. I just want to make sure nobody else got anything else more to say. Roy, you got anything to say before we get into these questions? I got 3 questions that we're gonna get to.
Nah, you could get to it.
All right, so the first question here is, what things inspired you to be an influence in our community?
You know, I'm a risk taker. You know You know what I'm saying? I've gambled a lot with my life. I don't gamble with money too much. I wanted to play the lotto though, $1 billion. You know what I'm saying? But I don't, gamble. But I've taken risks with my life, and I've made a lot of mistakes, as we all make mistakes. Not bad mistakes, but just, mistakes that we make in life. There's something about me that I feel like I always want to share my experiences, to help other people learn from the things that I've done. I always wanted to experience things firsthand, like, moms or whoever could tell me, don't do that. And I listen because I learn from other people too, but sometimes, depending on how my spirit feel about it, I need to experience this for myself. I share my scars, so that other people can see that you can survive. You know what I'm saying? And say, look, this is what happened, but I'm here, and I'm still standing. So I've always wanted to share that. I started getting in the game through hip hop. I used to rap, make songs, make music, and I wanted my words to be able to resonate to people that I couldn't reach physically, to help somebody in some far place that can hear something that could resonate, that could be like, you know what, I understand exactly what he's saying, and maybe it helped them through something the same way I heard something or read something that helped me too, but in staying close to a microphone, it got me to the radio, which still, is sending the message, but without being extra serious. Like, I'm being fairly serious now, but you know what I'm saying, I'll be having fun. But especially on the radio, in a motley crew like the morning show, we gotta laugh and we gotta have jokes and talk about nonsense, but I always try to drop some truth in the middle of it. I like people, man. Some people don't like people. I like people. You know what I'm saying? I like connecting with people. I like that connection. I always feel like people need people. When the pandemic happened, I felt like they were trying to keep us separate for some strange reason that I ain't really know. But I know that divide and conquer piece is real. So I like to connect with people, hands-on. So that inspired me, to just always figure out different ways to connect, and be one with people. That oneness is everything. You know what I'm saying? If I'm on a stage and we all bopping to the same song, everybody bopping at the same time, everybody hands in the air at the same time, there's a oneness about that. They call that collective consciousness, and in that collective conscious state, whether it's through music or whether it's through words or some type of energy that we feeling, that oneness is powerful, so I always seek that out, which made me want to connect with people and help people in the community and, lock in with them, and my nonprofits, the first one, No Disrespect, started because of Trayvon, and I saw myself in him because I used to visit my father. I used to be in the suburbs, just like him, and he was 18, but you probably look 25 to some people because you're tall. And now you walking down these streets, it ain't like a Brooklyn or Queens street where it's a lot of noise. It's a dark suburban street where the trees got the sidewalks mad dark, and now somebody's thinking you're a criminal and following you. I could imagine the fear he felt, as aggressive as he may have been in that moment. That was out of fear, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I'll be shook too, you know what I'm saying? Big white dude coming after me and him trying to fight for his life. So, you know what I'm saying? It hit me in a way that I wanted to do something. And I think the whole world was touched by that because we saw hoodies in everybody's avatar and everybody wanted justice for Trayvon. And then we saw Zimmerman get off and we just kind of was like defeated. Like, it was just like, damn, they got one again, and it just feels like our life wasn't respected, which is Black Lives Don't Matter came from that because it was like, we don't matter. But for my piece, it was, we weren't respected. Our life isn't respected, which is why I started No Disrespect, because we have to respect our lives too and move in a certain way if we want other people to respect us the way we see ourselves, so it just comes from within, and I just continue to amplify it every chance I get.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
Definitely.
Yeah. I try. It's a work in progress. Ain't nobody perfect, but we trying. We working. We trying.
Yeah, well, I'd say Black people, we do need to learn how to get respect without disrespecting, because I feel like it is a thing where we only respect disrespect. And I honestly think that's like one of the most idiotic behaviors to have, because it's just like, disrespect has nothing to do with respect. So it's just like
Right.
you taking the next extreme in order to come back to a moral state. So it's just like it doesn't balance out at all. It just turns into absolute chaos. It turns into no order. It turns into a lack of morals because you're trying to go back to the morals after doing something that you shouldn't have did in the first place. So we can't just. A lot of times, you know, we got into me and Roy specifically have gotten into disagreements with people, and then we got into a whole bunch of physical problems and a whole bunch of this and a whole bunch of that, and it all ended up in just could have been a conversation. Realistically, it just could have been a talk. But you know, since we got this mindset of disrespect to respect, it turns things into ignorance basically. So that mindset you got on it is a very experienced mind, and I could tell like when you're talking to people for your for the services that you do. That you're able to break it down to them in a way that makes sense. Also, by you bringing them in groups, I like how you don't isolate them and you bring them in groups for that, because I think like you understand the psychology behind it, because you've been in their shoes, and that's why we need men on the street and men around that been through it, and not somebody that's just like, oh, I'm just trying to be a peacemaker and I don't know what it's like to feel that pain or to feel that, you know, that irritation, that agitation we deal with. You know what it's like, so now you can actually talk to somebody. They actually going, since we only respect disrespect, and you've probably been disrespectful to somebody in your life, now that they can respect you, but you're using it for the right reason now at this point. So
yeah, thanks. Yeah, like one of the pieces that I I was at a school one time, not to go too far into this subject off the question, but you know that whole piece of get respect, like, you know, somebody look at you, it's like what we're getting to want to do, you know what I'm saying? Or they bumping you, you feel like you got to stand up and posture in a certain way. Even if you know how to handle yourself, it still be like your pardon. You know what I'm saying? When you bump into somebody, like my fault, and it's all love, and still maintain your respect. And so I'm at this school, and I create this scenario, and it's an audience. You know, it's maybe 300 kids at Erasmus High School in Brooklyn. You know that school is like one of the bad schools, tough schools, which I prefer. But I'm like, all right, so 2 of y'all walking in one direction, you got a crew of 3 walking in the other direction, and none of y'all really paying attention, and y'all kind of talking amongst yourself, and the 2 cats on the end bump into each other. Boom. You know what I'm saying? I say, now what you do? All right, so the kids start raising their hand. One of them is like, yo, off that, right? Everybody start laughing. I'm like, okay, let's keep that thought, right? So now, boom. No, I said, actually, your man bumped into him, and you're one of the friends of the person that bumped into. Because the friends is just as responsible. As a friend, you got to be like, yo, nah, it's cool. Because sometimes the dude that's ready to do something is because he don't want to look like a sucker in front of his friends. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's a responsibility to let your friends know you ain't no sucker. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. Like, we got this. You got to be like, yo, we don't need that. It's cool. Nah, it's cool, fam. Boom. So I said, as a friend, what do you say? And the kid, he's like, yo, I tell my man, yo, off that. I'm like, all right, boom. So you tell your man off that. So now he feels compelled that he got to make something pop. So he's like, yo, what's up? The other dude turned around like, yo, what's up? Right? Now y'all about to have a conflict. Everybody, all the kids, they paying attention because they know the scenario too well. So the conflict's about to take place. Boom. Y'all start fighting. Your man gets stabbed because you ain't know the other dude was about it. He pull out a knife. He stabbed your man. The man on the floor bleeding. He died. His mom's roll up to the scene. Everybody quiet. She crying. She hold on her baby. She like, what happened? And you was there. So you gonna tell her? Everybody's like, no. No. So you gonna tell her that y'all bumped into each other and that you said that he needed to offer him, or you gonna tell her that part, or you gonna just say we got into a fight, he got stabbed? Or you gonna tell your role in this? Nah, I ain't saying nothing. I ain't gonna tell her. Right? I said, so she'll never know what really happened. I said, but you know who will know what happened? It's like, he will. Like, exactly. You gonna always know that you was the one who provoked that situation. And as you get older, that's gonna live with you. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta be responsible for each other. And we gotta understand that some of these conflicts are not necessary. And that you can still maintain your respect, even in conflict. There's certain things that you can do to avoid certain situations and still be looked at as a man, as a king, as a person that's able to keep his reputation. Because it ain't gonna hurt you to be like, yo, it's all right, fam. It's all love. Even if they grilling you or they looking crazy. But we have to make our friends feel secure in that moment too. Again, not to go down that road too much, but again, that's just little things so that they can remember that when they're in them situations, like, you know what, word. I ain't in a position to be explaining none of my friends' death, and I don't want to be responsible. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to see them get hurt either, you know? And maybe that might switch somebody's perspective in a clutch moment. You know, so
Right. So that leads me to my next question. Why do you feel like it's a lack of accountability, like in our culture specifically?
Accountability in terms of what?
Like just taking responsibility for like one's actions.
I would say fear. You know what I'm saying? I would think that's rooted in fear. Um, I feel like, I mean, there's consequences in a lot of other cultures too, but one, Black African men, dark-skinned men are hunted across the globe on every continent. The most wanted, as the bottom of the totem pole, looked down on every piece of land on this planet. Um, even in some of our Black countries, you know, fairer skin is exalted, and it's sad. But I think under that umbrella of fear of always being like afraid something is going to happen to you because you're already looked at in a certain way. You're already looked at as the enemy. You're already looked at like you're guilty of something, or you did something wrong. There's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with your nose. There's something wrong with your complexion. Something wrong with your lips. There's something wrong with your hair. There's always something wrong with us. We don't want another thing that's wrong. So we trying to point the blame someplace else. We're afraid of getting the consequence of something else, because we're always pointed at as less than. If we were at the top and we were always exalted, not the top, but figuratively speaking, if we were in positions of power and we had certain levels of control and we knew that we didn't have to fear certain things being taken away from us because of consequence or because we did something wrong, we wouldn't be afraid to say, yeah, that was my fault, I did that, and given the space to clean it up. We see in certain white communities, they smoke weed. Back in the day, now it's a little light for everybody, but they smoke weed, they get a slap on the wrist. Lawyers like, look, this is a little kid. He's innocent. They was just smoking weed, having fun, did a couple of bad things, and they're able to recover. You know what I'm saying? For us, it was hard time. You know what I'm saying? Might be a year in prison, or for the same accusation. It's like the consequences are more severe for us. So we don't want to take the accountability for the things that we might have did wrong or mistakes we might have made because we can't take no more smoke. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and that's just one theory. There's a variety of reasons I think that accountability is lacking, but I think in one perspective, there's fear there. There's fear, and we don't want to be wrong again. So it wasn't our fault. It was somebody else's fault. It becomes the default of ours.
Wow. Yeah. And that's true about fear. That is heavy. Fear is heavy. 'Cause it's like, well, how come you could dish it out? Like, if you could dish it out, you got to keep that same energy and in retrospect, understand that those consequences is going to be heavy. You were in fear, but you was quick to, you know what I'm saying? You was quick to tell a boy,
awful,
take him out, off him.
Yeah.
But now you can't handle the heat. You know what I'm saying? It's like sometimes when you just keep it real with yourself and you just, it has a lot to do with knowledge yourself too. If you could just be honest with yourself, like you said, it doesn't hurt to just take it down a notch with your ego and say, you know what, pardon me, excuse me. We got to have more respect with ourselves, and it starts with knowledge itself. Because if we don't really know ourselves, then that's when we put on this front, like we have to be somebody else. Knowing that we already come with all these stigmas.
Yeah, and they programmed us to believe that we got to be something in ourselves, something other than ourselves.
Right.
I feel like young Black men are just our mindsets are warped in what society has built for us through movies, through TV, and through the illusion of the hood. And we have now found ourselves protecting the wrong thing. We're not protecting ourselves spiritually and physically. We're protecting our pride and ego. And that's an inflated, hyper-inflated thing. When you bump into somebody and you're sensitive enough to pull out a knife because you bumped into somebody. If somebody bumping into me, I'd be like, all right, man, see you later. I ain't going to jail over this. I ain't hurting nobody over. Forget jail. I ain't hurting nobody over you bumping into me.
Right.
You can bump into me, you know what I'm saying? Don't do it purposely. Don't walk up to me and be like, yo, watch out, boy, or something, knock me down or something. But if you bump into me, I will politely tell you, oh, you good? I'm good. I'm good. I'm damn sure good. I ain't getting hurt physically. You ain't getting hurt physically. You ain't getting hurt spiritually. You ain't getting hurt mentally. As long as you don't see nobody around you, like you said, your friends around you. Oh, that boy just bumped into you. I'm like, bro, all right. If somebody was to say that to me and I bumped into somebody and they look at me because I didn't do nothing, because I just like, oh, you good? You bumped into me, and they like, yo, why you ain't doing nothing about that? I'm like, bro, listen, man. Have you been through anything yet?
You know how many friends I lost over stepping on shoes, stepping on the
crazy.
Sims. So many people I grew up with are not here because of that. It's so stupid.
If anything, you should be happy to get bumped into, and then and you should be happy to see how mature enough you are to handle that, to show somebody else and save a life. Not even just your life, like show somebody an idea of how you can still be confident after somebody bumps into you. I ain't a punk because somebody bumped into me. That just means I'm not being ignorant. I'm not being impulsive off of what TV shows has showed me and what movie. Boy, y'all watching too much Boys in the Hood. And the sad part about it is, Boys in the Hood is the only thing that black people see on TV when it's for black people, especially in the 90s. So it's like, that painted a mindset for us.
Yeah, it's programming.
Yeah, they definitely did a number on programming us and putting us in situations where it's kill or be killed and survival of the fittest, and create circumstance where we feel like we don't have no choice, which is why people do what they do. But like we have certain things that trigger us, right? Like we fight, at least in the society that we know we're physical people. Naturally, that's why we're better at basketball and dancing and certain things with physical, but like Rosenberg, who was on the morning show with me, excuse me, when he first got on the show, there was certain culture, not shocks, but he would give us insight. All of us get insight into our little worlds and where we come from. And he's like, he never got in a fight, never had a fight, and fighting words never was a thing. I'm saying, like how we say, like I remember Cypher Sounds, and all of us was kind of telling him, like, in the hood, it's like, yo, suck my dick. You know what I'm saying? Boom, that's done. We fighting. You know what I'm saying? You saying that is what? You said what? You know what I'm saying? It's on and popping. He was like, there's nothing, no words that could ever make him feel like he wanted to throw a punch at somebody. Like, they argue with each other. He was like, we argue in each other's face, and you know what I'm saying? And say all types of like crazy stuff, and like it just never, in his world would escalate to a fight. It's very rare unless you were like who they would consider dickhead or some shit. But those people were considered dickheads. You know what I'm saying? Normally it's like he's like, we not fighting like that. And I remember there was a conflict in the studio. And we spoke about this a few times on the radio. But him and Cypher were having an argument early in the beginning. Y'all familiar with the DJ Cypher Sounds or Rosenberg? And he was like, yo, I'll spit in your face, Cypher. Now, in the hood, somebody spit in your face, that's a fight too. That's one of the, basic forms of disrespect. Cypher was so heated.
That's a little more than a fight.
You know what I'm saying? Cypher was so like, what? Yo, what? Do it, which is what we do, right? Somebody make a threat, we now dare you to do it, so you give us a reason to take you out. You know what I mean? So, but Rosenberg doesn't know that these are fighting words. You know what I'm saying? I'm standing there looking at him. My face is like, what? Like, you gonna what? Like, you can't do that. But he's thinking it's just words. You know what I'm saying? And Cypher at that point was ready to put hands on him because that's where we come from. But just to show what I'm trying to show is the difference in the mirror imaging of how he grew in that society and what they considered escalating. It will only go to words. And it's just different, and we feel like we have to survive over the smallest thing of like brushing a foot, and they can say the harshest things and they'll be like, we're not gonna fight, so when you put us in certain circumstance, because we're physical people, they knew what was going to happen, and unfortunately we're caught up in the trap that they've set for us, and we falling right in line, and we take ourselves out.
Wow. Yeah. All right.
It takes so long for us to learn like the basic behaviors amongst each other because we don't know who we are. Like we really don't look at each other like kings and queens, or at least look at us like as a line of kings and queens, at least, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah. Nah, it's so many layers to us, and why we're being not just held back, but sometimes hold ourselves back, and like, it's just so many different things. They hit us from so many different angles. Once we think we knocking down one thing, it's like 20 other things aiming at us. So it's so hard to kind of break some of these programming that they've instilled in some of these situations that we're in. It's rough. That's why you gotta have like foundation, an internal grounding, because there's a lot of noise out here. They rely on that noise as a distraction to make you just pay attention to the loudest voice, which is theirs. So you gotta have an internal voice that's louder than theirs in order to just move correctly. But you gotta condition that internal voice that you can hear it louder. The movies have depicted it. The cartoons depict it when they show a devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other. They make it where that devil is loud. You gotta strengthen that other shoulder so that voice is louder and that you follow it. But the more you follow it, you build trust, just like with friendships. The more experiences you have, you build trust for the person. So the more experiences you have listening to that inner voice that is guiding you the right way, the more you'll trust it. But most people don't take the time, and they listen to the louder voice because it's easier, and that's how they keep us locked in.
Keep